Hello everybody, this is Joji and today is Sunday, August 5. It's a really nice day here. It's cold but it's sunny after I think we've had several weeks when the weather hasn't been so great, and most of the times that I get to chat with you it's been quite dark, so it's not so nice when I show you the colors, but today it's really bright, or at least I hope it stays a bit bright while we record. I hope you're all well. I've had a really interesting week. I've been away. I'll tell you more about that. But I came home a couple of days ago, and I've been basically just cuddling and receiving kisses from my children and my husband. Today I decided to take some time for sewing, and so I've been sewing all morning, and then my husband grilled a barbecue for us, so I'm in a really good mood and I'm really happy to share with you some of the things that happened this week. I've been to two different events. One of them was last weekend. For the first time, some makers in Argentina organized a knit night with a pop-up sales show. It was a very small space. It was at a studio on top of a shop, and they they posted about it on social media, and they invited everyone to come to do some shopping and to sit and knit. So I asked Mom if she wanted to come with me, and we both drove to this shop, and it was a really fun afternoon. It was a horrible day. It was raining. It was very dark, and but as soon as we arrived, we met some knitters, and I had never seen some of these dyers products and makers. So it was really nice to have for the first time something like that happening. Sorry, I'm in a constant battle with my fringe. I don't know what to do. Anyway, yeah, it was really nice. So these makers were three different Argentine makers. One of them is called Carolina, and she is the natural dyer that I took classes with at the beginning of this year. And she had her products there on display. I'll show you what I got when I talk about stash enhancement. And then the other dyer is called Rosa Panda, and she's also a very talented dyer. She works with local fibers. And then there was a maker market called Punto Arroz, and she had some circular needle products which are hard to find here, and she also had beautiful needle cases and other accessories. It was really nice. I met up with old friends and new friends, so that was a fun event last weekend. And then on Tuesday I drove to the countryside together with my friend Ale. Every year there's a company called Behind the Scenes Adventures. It's run by a lady called Cynthia, and she brings travelers from mostly the US to different exotic places. I suppose we are exotic. But she organizes travels to Peru and India and Thailand and Morocco and lots of really cool places. And these travels or these trips are, they have a theme in common. So this time she brought a group of knitters to Argentina and Uruguay. This group of knitters had been in Uruguay the previous week, and now they traveled to an estancia. An estancia is sort of like a ranch with a big house, and it's an old house from the, I think, 19th century, and with lots of rooms. So the knitters just stay there and they hang out, and we work on a pattern. So that was a really nice time. I got to meet 9 really lovely knitters, and I got to hang out with my best friend. So that was really nice. But I have to say, I do get more and more homesick lately. It's like I was away from home only for 2 nights, and I knew that I was only 2 hours away. But we didn't have good internet, so I couldn't like stay in touch with my family, and I just feel really, really homesick. So I think that it's a good idea. It was a good idea to take a break from all of that craziness for a while, even if I still have to work for one more year before I can take that time off. Anyway, that was my those were my teaching, or oh my god, my hair, my teaching meeting experiences. I hope I will not touch my hair again. And it was really fun. I Yes, I can start showing you some of my works in progress, and I will talk about some acquisitions in the meantime. The first acquisition that I want to show you is I finally found a beautiful set of sock blockers. I have never owned a pair of sock blockers. I think I have said this before sometimes. I guess I never bought them. The times that I looked for them, they were sold out. I see many podcasters talk about their sock blockers, and I suppose that because I always watch their episodes maybe a bit too late, when they mention what company those were made of, I go to these companies and they are sold out. So I could never find a pair of sock blockers, and in the makers market last weekend, Punto Arroz had these beautiful Argentine-made ones, and I love them. This is the brand. It's called Punto Arroz. It means seed stitch, and this is the size that these sock blockers are intended for. So I'm a size 40, I would say. It's a US 9. So these are perfect. And I'm super happy. And I'm super happy because the main reason why I wanted a pair of sock blockers is not because I care about how my socks look like after I wash them, but because I think they look really, really lovely on sock blockers when I showed them to you for the journal. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you my current work in progress. I'm working on my Indigo Leaves socks that I'm making for our Joji sock knit-along. Let's see, let's place them correctly on my new sock blocker. So this is my first finished sock that I showed you last week, and I should have done both. It's gonna take a while. I have made lots of progress on my second sock too. They are almost done. I wanted to finish them to show them both for the journal, but I didn't make it in time. But I don't have a lot more to go. So here they are. I'm going to finish these tonight or tomorrow, the latest. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna be done with the whole pair for the Joji sock knit-along. The Joji sock knit-along is taking place in my Ravelry group. My Ravelry group is called Designs by Joji, and the end date for that knit-along is August 10. But to be eligible for a prize, you don't need to finish a pair. If you finish just one sock, then you're good to go and you're eligible for the prize. What else was I going to say about that? Yes, so I'm using, as I said many times, my Indigo Leaves pattern, but this yarn that I used is fingering weight. The pattern is written for DK, so I'm writing the modifications for this in my project page. I created a project page on Ravelry, and there I wrote what numbers I tweaked from the pattern to make this pattern work for medium size in fingering weight. I cast on 60 stitches onto 2.25 millimeter needles, and then I did a series of changes to the numbers to create the heel flap and the gusset decreases and the toe. I'm going to make a comment now. You probably hear my youngest son. I don't know if the microphone picks it up, but sometimes when I'm about to record the journal, I tell my family to not to be too noisy because I'll be here recording and everyone's here in the house. So my son said, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll be very quiet." So he put on his earbuds and he's making a playlist, and he's listening to that playlist and he's singing really loud. So he's not being quiet at all, he's being really charming. So I hope you can hear him sing his songs in English. Anyway, yes, the yarn I'm using, I talked about this many times too. This was a gift from a sweet lady called Claire. She came to see me to the Curious Handmade Retreat, and she told me this yarn was made by her husband, who owns the company Mr. B's Yarn. And this base has some glitter, some stellina on it, you can see. And I think it's called La Rue, but I'm not sure. And I'm definitely sure that the colorway, this beautiful greeny gray with rusty speckles, that colorway is called Just Rust. Sevi's singing, Sevi's serenading me. Okay, so that's my first work in progress. I only have 2 works in progress because I have finished some things and I've been writing a lot. So I'm trying not to start too many things to keep me from forgetting all the details of the things that I have to write. My only other work in progress is another sock that I have just started. It's very tiny, and this is a test knit for Tracie from the Grocery Girls, and she's coming up with a new design called Coffee Talk Socks. I really should hurry up because I think that the other testers are doing a super fantastic job and they are knitting this very quickly, but I wanted to wait until I finished one of my other works in progress to start this, so I'm not being the best test knitter, I'm afraid, but I started them. The pattern calls for 2 different colors, and I'm using a white yarn or natural yarn that I have no idea what it is, but it was in my leftover bin. It looks, all I can say is that it looks really nice and it looks like sock yarn, so it's good for me. And the main color, it's a favorite. So the main color, I hope you can see how it's knitting up. It's a really delicate blush, gray, pink color, and it's by La Bien Aimee. This is the ball. This is their BFL, here it is. It's their BFL Tough Sock, 75% blue face Leicester and 25% nylon, and the color is Fiori, just in case you didn't understand what I said. By La Bien Aimee. This is a very fine sock yarn, so I'm trying to keep my tension tight, otherwise my socks tend to be a bit too loose. I like my socks to be on the tighter side, but I have to consciously tighten my tension when I'm knitting sometimes, because if I knit too many socks, my hands get very used to that, and I feel like my tension loosens up. And lately I've been knitting a lot of socks, so perhaps I should take a break from them, maybe switch to some other kind of mindless project, like maybe hats or mittens or cowls, or maybe hats. Maybe I should make a few hats after I finish with both of these socks. So again, this is a test knit. The pattern will be called Coffee Talk Socks, and it's by my friend Tracie, and I'm really enjoying that. And yeah, and the only other thing that I can show you from my works in progress is a swatch that I just finished this morning. This yarn is so beautiful. I think I have showed you this yarn before when I received it, but this is Marquise by Primrose yarn, and this is an MCN. MCN stands for Merino Cashmere Nylon, and it's a DK weight yarn, 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere, and it comes in with a put-off of 225 yards. The colorway, it's called All of the Lights, and it's a color that the company designed for me for a design that I'm going to work on. And I'm pretty sure that this color won't be released until my pattern is ready, but it's super awesome. So just so that I can describe this to you, it's a very pale gray base. Probably you can see that more clearly here in my swatch. And it has speckles, but these speckles are not super saturated. They're kind of washed out to me. Even if they look super neat and defined here, I feel like when I'm knitting the yarn, this speckle and this dyeing has created sort of like washed out watercolored effect. Sorry about that. Someone's making my phone buzz all the time. So I have mixed feelings about working with variegated or multicolored yarns and a lot of patterning. Sometimes I feel like I have this idea for a lot of cables in my mind, and then if I work with some multicolored yarn, those cables or those ideas might be obscured, and it's true. In this case, the design process came from the yarn. I had the yarn, I had to decide what I was going to make with that yarn, and I just thought it would be really fun to do a lot of texture and patterning, even if the yarn has a lot going on with the colors themselves. So I decided to swatch a complex cable first. I took that swatch with me to the country house, and my idea wasn't really working with the colors. I think at first I picked a cable that was way too complex, and it wasn't really showing all the hard work. So then I sketched design idea. So oh my goodness, I can't talk today again. I think I'm going to make this design in the bias. So I'm going to use cables that are going to run in this direction throughout the coat and throughout the sweater. So I picked now a simpler cable that, and with this, and I think that these outlines actually help you see what's going on a lot better than without them. And I also picked this double stitch because I just love the way it breaks the color repeats, and I think it looks awesome with the dyeing that the Primrose did. So this is what I'm going to be working on next. I just have to wash this swatch and I have to do some math. I didn't do it at the country house because people were like, I really need to focus. For that I really need to be quiet and very, very focused, and also because I still have to write 4 or 5 more patterns that I have in my head of things that I already need, and I feel like I need to drop that onto paper or in the computer before I can load my brain with new numbers and rates and ratios and techniques. But hopefully I will show you work in progress next time I record for this Primrose. The only thing I have to say about the yarn is that it's a lot thinner than I thought. I sometimes need decay weight yarn on US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles. This time, because it's going to be a coat and because it's going to have a lot of cables, it's going to be a heavy project. I decided to go down to 4 millimeter needles, and it was still very loose as I was watching. So I went down to 3.75. And I think it's okay, although I could have gone down to 3.5 or US 4. We'll see. I think the 3.75s will be okay because also the cables are going to help keep the structure, but it's a very thin, in my opinion, it's a thin decay weight. So almost, you know how I'm controversial about yarn weights, but it's almost like a sport weight, almost like a sport weight, I would say. Yeah, so that's next. I'm going to talk to you about some yarn acquisitions that I got this week. It's been a very heavy week. You know, I don't normally have a lot to show you in terms of yarn acquisitions because I just can't buy yarn in the mail, but yeah, I have, because I went to these knit nights, I have a few things to show you. First of all, I forgot to show you again what the price is going to be for the sock knit along. So I'm going to draw these 2 beautiful skeins from Manos del Uruguay that I brought from Uruguay. This is a new yarn. Someone asked me last week what the name was and where they can find it. I am not sure that Manos del Uruguay already distributes this yarn, and I'm not sure if they will, but it's really, really beautiful, and if they never distribute it, then you'll have something very unique. This is 70% Merino superwash and 30% modal, and the colorway is called Wild Flowers. And again, this is Feliz. So 2 skeins of that. You can make 2 pairs of socks if you like, or you can use it for a shawl. And then I was watching Grocery Girls yesterday, and I saw that Tracie was using one of Mrs. Brown's bags, small bags, to knit her sock. And I remembered that I also had one of those saved to draw as a prize. So this is a small Mrs. Brown's bags. I'm gonna call this Notions pouch, and she showed how she could fit her sock project in this pouch. Let's see, I'm gonna put mine like that. I'm gonna put both socks to make sure that all of the project fits there. So my ball went in, and then I have my finished sock, and then I have my work in progress also. So I can put everything inside this little bag, and then I can just close it and keep it very compact. So for those of you who always have a sock in their purse, this is the ideal sock project bag. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool to include this beautiful bag that Joji gave me in the sock knit along price. So it's going to be for the same person, and also I'm going to include some stitch markers that I got from Rosa Panda, this one of the Argentine makers, and these are going to be also for the same person. It's going to be one price. So again, today is August 5. You have until August 10 to finish one sock and enter it in the FO, or finish object thread, one post per project. And I'm going to draw that on August 10. I'm going to draw a winner, and I'm going to send this prize. Okay, so that was to tell you that I had got these stitch markers from Rosa Panda, but I also got some beautiful yarns that she makes. So I bought 3 of them as a set, and I'm going to also save these for a giveaway prize, because I think it's really cool to send some Argentine products to the winners. So probably this is going to be for the Joji Fall Knit Along coming up in September. So this base is called Fingering, Rosa Panda Fingering. This is her tag. And it's 100% merino. This is not superwash wool. This is very, very fine, luscious, woolly looking Argentine merino, and it's 100 grams and 400 meters. It says hand wash and dry flat. And the colorway, this gray is called Tinta. And we have the same base in this watercolored, speckly, orangey pink called Lily. And also I love this. This was probably my favorite color. It's more rust than orange, and it's called Caramelo. So yeah, that's what I got from Rosa Panda. And I also got 2 skeins of this naturally dyed yarn from Ebra Lab. It's dyed with cochineal dyes, and she didn't have tags for this one, but I think it's a Mohair wool blend. It probably is something like a DK weight. I think this will become very warm socks for me in the future. And then I showed you my sock blockers that I also got, and then the most incredible thing happened, and I forgot to tell you last weekend. I received a parcel in the mail. My friend Diane, who runs Suburban Stitcher, I had told her that we had heard that some parcels were going through and that I didn't trust my mailman. So she sent me a small parcel. She didn't declare the value of the yarn that I purchased, and she sent me a handwritten package. She didn't include the printed tag. She hand wrote my parcel, information, and she just sent me one skein of yarn and one card, and it arrived. It didn't get stopped. It wasn't stopped by customs. I didn't send it to my house. I sent it to my friend Ale, who's the best in the world, and her mailman. Oh my goodness, everything. And her postman actually delivers the parcels, unlike mine. So it arrived. It took exactly 6 weeks and a half to arrive. So that means, sadly, that I still cannot rely on mail. I cannot tell whether a bigger parcel will go through. It's still not a very efficient way to buy yarn, because if I had to buy, I mean, with the yarn and postage, I paid this yarn $38 a skein, so that makes buying yarn very ineffective for me, because I will have to pay postage for one skein at a time, but I love that I received these, guys, because I need to make a 3-color shawl for interpretations. This is a big hint that I shouldn't be giving, but I really wanted to use Diane's yarn, Suburban Stitcher, because I'm a huge fan of everything Diane makes. I think she has a perfect color sense, and I had 2 skeins of it, and I didn't have a third one. So the fact that the third one arrived actually puts her yarn now in my book, and it means a big deal. So for specific occasions like this one, for specific purposes, I think I'm beyond thrilled that I could actually get something in the mail. It's like Christmas times 1000. I cannot tell you how happy I am that it didn't even get stopped by customs. So these 2 were already in my stash. These are Suburban Stitcher Sock, 75% merino, 25% nylon. This is a almost black skin in the coal colorway. I love this color. Then this is a medium gray with black speckles, so perfect. It's called Cinder. And the yarn those 2 I brought in my suitcase from Texas. And the third one that just arrived is Single Sock, and it's 100% merino, and the color is called Rochage. Now we have Taylor Swift. Yes, so that's my other acquisition that came in the mail. That's exciting. And lastly, my friend Ale, my best friend, I've talked about her yarn many times, and it's Pura Hilados. And she brought a lot of her yarn to show and tell and sell at the retreat in Lobos, and I couldn't resist. I had to buy some skeins because I had never seen some of these colors. So this is gorgeous. This is 2 skeins of the same color, and this color is called Faro, means lighthouse, and it was inspired by a beach in Uruguay. It's lavender with purple and orange and some magenta speckles. And the funny thing is that I knew that there were 2 skeins of this. I had seen one in the bottom and one. She arranged her yarns in a huge pile. She's very shy. She never wants to talk about what she's selling, or she never wants to give you a price. She says, I always tell her, like, Ale, how much are these? And she says, oh, I'll tell you later. It's very hard to buy from her. But anyway, I didn't want to buy first because I can always get yarn from her, but I thought that the people at the retreat, perhaps they wanted to pick their favorites, and then I would pick something from whatever was left, right? And people kept picking one or other of these, and the more people picked one of these up and took it away, the more I wanted to have them. So at some point, someone brought back the second one and put those two together like that, and I thought, okay, I've given everyone enough time. These two are mine, so I thought, Ale, I would keep these. So Pura Sock, 2 skeins in Faro, and then I also got 2 more skeins of the same base, Pura Sock, and this neutral beige, beautiful, is called Stay On, and the green is called Nancy's Green. Okay, now I'm gonna tell my kid to put the music down a bit. I'll be right back. No, I feel really sad because I think he hadn't noticed that he was being a bit loud, and even if you couldn't hear it, it was really distracting. So I couldn't think properly what I had to say because Taylor Swift was very, very loud. So I have 2 finished projects to show you. The first is a pair of socks that I'm going to put on my sock blockers. Just give me a second. These are my leftovers socks. I worked these using various leftovers from various companies. Leftovers from sock projects and also from different sweater projects and such. So I just love my, my new sock blockers. All the socks look so much nicer on them, right? Okay, these have been blocked, but I didn't block them on the sock blockers, funnily enough, because I still don't know whether this wood might transfer some color to my socks, and I really didn't want to get them ruined and stained. So perhaps I'm gonna try with a pair of old socks when I wash them and see if they don't stain anything. Then I will start blocking my socks on this. These are very simple ribbed socks that I made using just changing yarns every about 20 rows. I decided I'm going to write this pattern down, even if it's a simple pattern, someday, as part of an ebook on really simple patterns that you can use your leftovers with. I have plans to make a sweater with leftovers and maybe a hat, maybe another pair of socks. Yeah. If you have any idea of what kind of pattern you would like to use your leftovers for, that would be great. I probably am going to develop this towards next year, but it would be really interesting to know what kind of projects you'd be interested to use your leftovers for. And yeah, so there we go. Those are done. And then I finished the beautiful Elton cardigan, and I blocked it, and I even sewed the buttons on. Oh gosh, there's an end that wasn't properly woven in. It's a bit better, but I can only see it in the screen here. I have to fix that. It's a tiny detail, but it really bothers me now on the screen. Anyway, it's done, and I wrote it, and I sent it to my trusty, beautiful test knitters that always test my designs when I send them a message at 3 a.m. in the morning, because they're old friends. I adore this cardigan more than I can say. I'm not gonna put it on because I want to save something to show you when I release the pattern. I don't know when it will be released, but hopefully very soon. It's a really simple pattern. I told you a lot about it in previous channels, so I'm not going to bore you telling you all the details. But I just wanted to give you the heads up that the pattern is finished, and it's being test knit, and that it turned out better, even better than I hoped. I don't know. I don't know what I was hoping for, but that cardigan is perfect. It's the cardigan of my dreams. So I hope you guys will like how it fits when I get those photos taken. Yes, and I also wanted to tell you, these are all finished objects, but I sent the tops, the summer tops that I designed for Madelinetosh. I sent them to the girls at Madelinetosh a couple of weeks ago, and they published them now. Both versions are now available on their website. So this pattern is sold by Madelinetosh, and customer support, pattern support is also provided by Madelinetosh. It's not on my Ravelry shop. You need to go to Madelinetosh website to get it. And I called it the lounging top because it's just a really good top for lounging. And so that's going to be the featured pattern of this week because it's new for everyone. So the fingering weight one is made out of Tosh Merino Light in the copper pink colorway, and it was made at a tiny gauge, and I didn't swatch properly, so it came out a size too small. Of course, that was fixed in the pattern, but if you see the photos, I'm wearing a size small for the pink version, so it doesn't have the amount of positive ease that I usually like for myself. I usually make myself the size medium. This is the size small now. And the natural with speckles, it has a ugly fold line. This was designed for sport weight. This is the sport weight version using Madelinetosh Work Sock in the 11 light colorway, and it's basically the same top, but it's provided in two different versions to support different yarns by Madelinetosh. And this one, if you see me in the photos, I'm wearing size medium, which is the size that corresponds to my body size. Because I swatched better for this one. Yeah, so that was a lot of knitting. I'm kind of glad I didn't have more works in progress because I had a lot to share with you about knitting this week. And then I have a tiny but nice section about sewing. Let me check if I don't have anything else to say about knitting. And yeah, so I don't have anything else to say about knitting. I have a short section coming up with some sewing that I've been doing, but if you're not interested in that, thank you for watching so far, and see you hopefully next week. And if you're here to see some sewing, then thank you for staying. I have only one finished object, but I am very proud of this. So this is a jacket that I've been making for the last couple of episodes. There you can see the texture of the fabric a little bit better. This jacket, I used a pattern by a French designer called Ivan Soufflet, or something like that. It's called the Magnesium coat, but it's only in French, so if you want to look for that, you need to look for Manteau Magnesium. And it's a really nice pattern because it gives you a lot of options. It gives you options to have different colors. It gives you options for simple or double closure. It gives you different options for pockets. It gives you the possibility to add shoulder tabs and cuff tabs, and it gives you all kinds of options. I started this coat or jacket because I was planning to use this pattern to make myself a wool coat, a wool yellow coat. And so I thought, before cutting into my good and more expensive fabric, it would be a good idea to make a toile using something cheap. I bought this denim for virtually nothing. It has some stretch, but I thought it was a good material because it's very heavy. It's for heavy trousers, for heavy jeans. So it was a good idea to try on a jacket because it had the structure. I'm gonna hang it there so I can talk about it. There you go. As I was sewing this, I started liking the way it was turning out. I suppose I was not very hopeful. I suppose I was just taking it as a practice garment, and I never thought I would be serious with this coat, I think. And after I sewed some of the seams, I realized that I wanted to be more careful with it, and I bought some top stitching thread, and I started adding details that were clearly telling me that I intended to keep this jacket as a wearable piece. And yeah, so when I dreamed my second conception or dream of this jacket was, okay, I'm going to keep this denim and I would like to make myself something that looks like workwear. So I picked this color option, but I think that it didn't turn out, it turned out more feminine than what I was hoping for. And yes, but I didn't mind. I thought it's okay. It doesn't fit super great on me, but I thought, okay, I'm going to finish. The things that don't fit super great on me are that I picked the size 40 according to the size chart from the pattern, and it's maybe one size too wide for me at the shoulders, and it's maybe one size too small for me on the hips, because I'm a very disproportionate pear shape. So as much as I like the straight shape, the boxy shape, I don't have an easy shape to dress. And it sort of saddens me because I like modern clothing. I don't like Victorian style, or I don't like fit and flare. I think I dress in a feminine way, but I don't like to be uber feminine with my clothing. So I was kind of disappointed in that. I was really hoping that this would fit my shape a bit better. I suppose I can make it a bit more A-line, but I don't know. I would have to read a bit about what the consequences of that might be. What can happen if I make the pieces wider at the bottom. Anyway, I decided to just go ahead because it looked really well when I was wearing it without closing it, without buttoning it down. And then my mother came for a visit, and I told her my concerns about the coats. I said, okay, I'm really happy with my workmanship for this coat. I think I did a good job. I showed her all the details or the top stitching, and I showed her how well the sleeves are set in. By the way, I think it was Teresa from this podcast who told me I should always baste my sleeves. I think it was Teresa. That changed my life. I never had any more gathers at the sleeve joint. It really does make a difference. It doesn't matter how many pins I use when I set my sleeves in. I always get some kind of puckers, but after basting them and rearranging them with my fingers, I never had any more puckers happening with my sleeves. So thank you so much for those great tips. It takes an extra step, but it's definitely worth it. Anyway, my mom came and she said, well, it's fine. And I also didn't like, the other thing that I didn't quite like about the coat is that the neckline comes down a bit too low. It makes the coat look very feminine, and I suppose that it would allow you to button it even if you're wearing something kind of heavy on the neck. But I was hoping for something that would be more uniform style, maybe. I mean, the neckline is quite low for a warm piece. So if I make this pattern again, I would like to maybe make this opening maybe even an inch higher than it is now. Yeah, and then she was going around the house doing her thing, and I looked at her. My mother has a very different shape than I do. We look very different, and I looked at her and said, Mom, why don't you try it on? And she tried on, and it was perfect for her because she has slightly, I think because of the age, she's a bit heavier here on top, but her hips are very narrow. So the jacket was perfect for her. It was like tailored for her. I was so happy. And she said she wanted to keep it, but she didn't like that I had only done the bottom, like only the pocket. I hadn't done the flaps, and she asked me to add the flaps here on the top. And I think she was right, because one of the things that I didn't like about the jacket is that the pockets by themselves, they look very masculine and uniform-like without the flaps, but the collar was not matching this style. So by adding the flaps, I think this looks more feminine, and it goes better with the collar option that I have picked. Then I was spending a lot of time thinking how to line this jacket. The pattern it doesn't have a lining option. It only comes with a lining option. So I had never modified a jacket to take off the lining, and I give it a thought. I posted about that on Instagram, and I got some ideas which were basically what I was thinking. So I went ahead and did it. So the pattern comes with these facings, and I kept those, but then I made some bias tape using some navy blue linen fabric that I had at home. I also toyed with the idea of doing like a happier or an accent yarn for the binding, but then I realized I am not a fun person dressing up. I like my plain stuff. So this was before I knew this was going to be for my mother. Probably if I had known that, my mother would have requested some flowers, maybe some Liberty style fabric for this section, but I don't think she'll be unhappy with the navy blue. And another thing that I did with that is the facing ends here, and here you can see the blue linen bias taping, and I used that same tape to do a hanging loop, which was not included in the pattern. But I have a book by Merchant and Mills, and they had a pattern for a jacket that's not lined, and reading that pattern gave me a few ideas, including the idea of adding the hanging loop. So the last customization, well, not a customization, but the last detail was when Mom tried it on, I asked her, what kind of buttons do you like? Would you like plain buttons? Would you like us to see if we can find some fabric covered buttons or shell buttons or leather buttons? And she said she wanted something maybe with some rhinestones or something that looks elegant. So I went to the fabric district and I bought these blue buttons that have these golden stems. It almost looks, to me it looks like the center of a flower, and the buttons look like they are covered in blue fabric and they're golden, so I think they complement the jacket very well. And now that I showed it to you on the journal, I'm going to fold it very carefully and wrap it up and give it to my mother. And I hope she gets to wear it. I really hope she enjoys wearing it. I'm really proud of my first, it's my second jacket though. I made a jacket for Alma, but now that I made this, I feel like the jacket I made for Alma wasn't really a challenge as this one was. I'm happy I learned a lot in the process. I think I got more experience with my top stitching. I interfaced a lot of pieces. It was hard on my sewing machine to sew over several layers of thick denim plus interfacing, and I think I managed to do everything very gracefully, so I'm very happy. And that's my only finished object for sewing, but I have a new work in progress going on. It's another Isca Shirt Dress. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't really see anything, it's black. So by now, given the amount of things that I sew and give away, you probably can tell that I'm very peculiar with what I wear. I have a very difficult shape, I've said that before, and I don't like to dress with whatever. I'm very peculiar about color, about fit, about shape, about material. I think I would be happy if I only had black clothes. But I really adore the Isca dress that I made in gray. If you remember, a couple of journals ago I showed it to you. It's a pattern by Marilla Walker, and I had been trying to find something similar that I might like as much to make myself another dress. I don't need many clothes. I just want to make clothes that I really like. I don't want to make, I don't know, 10 new summer dresses. I want to make one dress that I really like. And yes, so I love the shape of my gray Isca dress. I just wish it was a bit darker, but I've been wearing that dress non-stop ever since I finished it, because I feel that the structure top looks good on me, looks flattering. It's great to have some garments that you can just throw on and they're like simple, but I think that the structure top with the collar, shirt collar, it looks better on me. And the fact that it has that gathered skirt at the bottom make it super comfortable. So yesterday I said, well, you know what, stop looking for another similar one and make another one of those. And I started a black one. I hope it turns out just as nice as the gray one. I'm gonna talk about the pattern again when I make a bit more progress, but I'm using now fabric that it's definitely nice. I took my gray one as my wearable muslin, and that was the cheap version, but this is a nicer. It's a black crepe. It's drapier than the chambray I used for the first version, and yeah, I'm also top stitching everything, as you can see, but I'm not using contrasting color because I want it to be just black. So let's see, maybe I can show you another dress or a work in progress next week. Yeah, and that's it for today. It's a long journal. I hope you enjoyed it, and yes, leave me your comments, leave me your questions, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye!